Hi, my name is Malvika Vardhan, and today we're here to explore money and our mindset. This is a show that's produced by Brown on the Outside, and it's an effort to understand our rather complex relationship with money and women. I've found that the key to freedom is often entangled within your purse strings, and the only way to untangle it is to talk. And those conversations are what we're about to have. I have two amazing guests on this show with me today. I've got Bilna Sandeep. Bilna runs an extremely successful agency and she does some brilliant work. But what intrigues me most about your story is that you have a group of women and you call this the Homepreneurs Club. And it's a group of women who are all working from home and creating businesses from home. And we've got Priyanka with us. Priyanka Arora is a counselor and therapist, and she's here to help us understand what's going on in our relationship with money and why is it so complex and what do we have to figure out before we figure out the rest of it. So I thought what we could do is start with what are the things you hear most often from women about their finances or about having or not having money. Bilna, I'll start with you.
So first of all, thanks for having me here. And since you already mentioned about the club, and I am in touch with a lot of women who are very ambitious, and even though they're ambitious, one thing that says, I have a business idea, but I'm scared to invest into it.
All the time. All the time. What's this?
What I hear the most is I think I need to save a little more or spend a little less. It's always comparative to somebody else. Like, I think I am spending a little more money than I was or than her is very common, is what comes to me. That comparative degree of money is something that comes to me a lot.
Something that comes to me very often is I'm really good at my work. I'm fantastic with my skill set, but don't talk to me about numbers. I hate numbers. I hate money. I'm very bad at money. I'm very bad at numbers. I think that holds us back so much.
Oh, yes.
Do you have another one?
Yes, another one is I've heard a lot about online trading, mutual funds, but no, I'm very scared of all those. Those all looks like scam to me. I just put my money into fixed deposits.
Or gold. And gold. And gold.
Yes.
Or gold.
This one I see across, right? I really like the top you're wearing. Only 50 dirhams. See, I got it on sale. That what a nice watch. Gift. Somebody gave me a gift. I didn't buy it. We're underplaying success and money because we're taught to do that. So that is very common. Like, oh, nice earrings. See? I got it on Amazon. I got it on Amazon. Like, I don't know why we do that, but that is a lot. Right.
Yes, it is.
And I think another thing that, we hear a lot is women saying, but why do I need to ask for more? I mean, can't you see the work that I'm doing? Like, why do I need to ask? And this is also true for like asking, for example, men to help around the house. It's like, why do I need to? My mom and dad had this all the time. Why do I have to ask you to do the dishes? Can't you see the dishes in the sink? And I think we feel the same way about money as well. Why do I need to ask for more? You should just see what I have and give me more based on the work that I'm doing. But I'm interested to know your respective money stories, yeah? I mean, if money were a human being, what is your friendship, what has your relationship trajectory been like with money from when you were a kid to where you are now?
Well, I would say like when I was a kid, both my parents were working, so I grew up seeing them work. But there was a lot of financial troubles they went through. So money was a bit scary factor for me because I've seen my dad go through debt and all those things. And I was scared of having debts as a kid, if when I grow up, I shouldn't be having that. And then I took the safe route of, did my engineering, went for work and started climbing the career ladder and everything. And at that time, but I was lucky that I got into an area where I was into the commercial management, so I was seeing all big numbers with USD or AED on the left side, So my relation with the number, the depth of the number, when you say 1 million or 1 billion, it has a feeling, right? Mm-hmm. So that changed my perspective around money. And now 1.5 years back, I quit my job. So of course I had a lot of pushbacks, from people around that, are you mad to do that? And now 1.5 years down the lane, when people ask me, how did you grow so fast in just so less time to a 20-member team? You have set up your office now. How did you do that? I was not scared to put money on it, right? I mean, I would take calculated risk, but I was always looking at, what's the worst that could happen? Can I pay my staff next month? If if that is okay, then let's just jump into it. So that's my relation with money now. That is what has really fueled the growth. So if I had put back, we'll be still in that starting stage. So now we are ready to go to the next scale. So I think that's only because we had that guts to jump in.
Really, and I so hear you, right? Because I've also grown up with this idea that you must never have debt. My mother worked for a government bank. My dad has a salaried job. So we were always taught that no, you should not take debt. As much as you can, don't take a loan. But at a certain point, it is impossible to grow without taking, let's say, a business loan, right? Or to invest in real estate. There's no way you can
you can't have like $1 million or $2 million in hands and then start a business. Then you will have to be born with a silver spoon for that, right?
Exactly.
But not everyone.
Exactly. And so because of that, I think so often women are one step behind because they are just not, and simultaneously men are taking loans left, right and center. They are gambling it all.
Yes.
And we are like, even when we don't want to gamble it.
Yeah. Even if it's not a loan, even if it comes from your own pocket, you're like, oh my God, what will others think? Or will they think that I'm going to lose everything?
Yeah. So the fear. What do you hear is your own money story? And what are the stories you hear around you?
So mine is a very, the usual traditional money story. Like investment was gold and real estate. Nothing else. We would do, LIC. We'll invest in LIC because that was easy. Like everybody has to have insurance. But that was it. There was no risk taking because we never, I have grown up with my mother only. So when you have no fallback, you just decide that my investments are going to be extremely safe. So the idea of starting a business would be risky. So you don't ever think of it. So my first job was absolutely run-of-the-mill, same thing. You go to engineering college, you get a stable job, you will get your 10% increment if you're great at it, and that was the end. And then you continue doing this till time immemorial and you're okay, you're fine. And life you don't honestly have to be spectacular. It was okay. But then the good thing was that I was always given that support system because not too many voices were heard because it was just mom and me. It was between the two of us, and to convince her, saying that, if we lose a little, we might be able to make it up, give me a edge over the rest. So I went on to be a pilot, which was a big deal at that point of time, and we were the largest risk area of loans, but we did take a loan, and in a small quantity. But the pressure of taking that loan off was everything in my life. Like my prime motive of life was that I have to take the loan off. Everything. I would do anything for that and absolutely anything. So I went flying in Philippines for a bit because there's a loan. And not that I didn't enjoy it, but the primary motivator was money of debt. So that's been my core existence, that I cannot have debt. Till date, while I know now I'm educated enough to know what a good debt is and how people use credit cards to their benefit, I don't own one. It's the fear that I have that I don't have a credit card, because it's not that I don't know how to calculate and juggle and miles and points and, the whole thing. I know how to do it. Will I do it? No.
That's so true. A lot of girls around me in school, I realized they were growing up with the money story of my dad is the primary breadwinner, and my mom has to ask every time she wants to buy gold, every time she wants to get some refurbishment of the house done, she'd have to ask dad. And they grew up with their own set of stories, and that brought its own set of complexities in their relationship with money. Whereas in my family, I realized because my dad was sick for a large part of my childhood and my mom was always taking care of my dad, after a lot of reflection, I realized this, right? That my way of showing love is that I must take care of you, because that's what I saw my mom doing for my dad. And so my behavior around money was, do you like it? Do you want it? Are you sad? Let me fill the gaps with money. Are you unhappy? Let me buy you a present. Let me just give. Let me just give as much as I possibly can to fill those gaps and those uncomfortable spaces. And that is such a dangerous place to be. But this is something that's come from a great deal of reflection and a whole lot of thinking and a whole lot of, I think, evaluation. And I would greatly encourage every single woman out there to take 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes, okay? Use a voice note, take a paper and pen it down. You don't even have to, even if you're waiting in a line, you can do this. Analyze your own story with money. What did you hear about money growing up? What was your mom saying? What was your dad saying? What were your role models saying? What were your siblings saying? Who were your monetary role models? And what have they taught you about the way you spend money today? And similarly, what are those things that you would like to change about the way you share your own relationship with money? What parts of that relationship do you want to change? So the reason that I chose money and your mindset as the first episode of More Bang for Her Buck is because of something that Priyanka said while we were having chai before this podcast started rolling, which is money is so emotional. Before we talk about saving it, investing it, making it, speaking to venture capitalists, we need to understand that it is a very, very emotional thing for us. And I know a lot of women who can barely get through a difficult financial conversation without tearing up. So what is it about money that makes us so emotional?
So I think for starters, let's establish this and put it out there that money is an emotional trigger, the largest that we have, right? And for that, it's easy when you associate and think of the emotions that you associate with money. We have fear, we have guilt, we have happiness, we have joy, celebration, joy, all good and almost all good and all bad emotions are related to money. So it is an emotional trigger and money is emotional. While we've been taught and told that money is use only your brains and not your heart, if it is not a balance of your heart and your brains together, you're not making an educated decision about your money. Where it comes from, where it is going to take you is an emotional response to money, which we have to understand and evaluate and then establish a relationship with money is what is imperative.
You know, Priyanka, for someone who I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person with a fairly decent career trajectory, and it took me some really bad decisions with money that were so deeply emotional for me to come to this place and say, no. I know I need to work out of my head, and my head's a great place. I'm very intelligent, but my heart simply won't get out of there. So if we don't reckon with that, if we don't sit down with that uncomfortable feeling that we're feeling, right, we're not going to be able to progress to the brain stage, which is where we remove the hard stuff and we're like, okay, now we can think about this.
Absolutely.
Logically.
It comes from as simple as buying a top, right? You do it on a day that you're feeling low or spending money on, it's a dopamine kick. You're doing it because your heart wants you to feel better in your brains. It's an emotional response. It's almost equivalent to emotional eating. You emotionally shop and it works as well. But is it a good practice or not? That your brain has to decide. So it is
Absolutely. And one of the exercises I did in the run-up to this podcast is I took 2 weeks of my life, okay? And I put down all the things that I spent money on. Yeah. And I put down next to it how it made me feel.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was doing it because I just wanted to make someone else happy, because I felt like I would be curing something with that. Sometimes I did it purely out of guilt. Like, I can't believe that I have so much of something that somebody else doesn't have. Sometimes I did it out of shame. Sometimes I did it out of pure joy.
Yeah.
But that was so few and far between. And I realized that every single little thing, from the chai in this cup, right, to like buying real estate, is all coming from an emotional place.
Absolutely.
It
is emotional. Money is emotional. And that has to be underlined in our lives and understood that that's where it all starts.
And like any other relationship, it takes work for you to figure it out. I read a really interesting stat that I'd like to share with both of you about how when you have your back up against a wall, right, which is whenever you're feeling insecure, when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling fearful, your IQ literally drops, which means that right now, if women are put in a position where they're feeling some kind of financial insecurity, they are not able to make the right choices in other departments as well. And what I think society does systematically is, and this does not limit itself to any particular socioeconomic group.
Right.
You could be working in people's homes and feeling this. You could be a millionaire and an entrepreneur and feeling this. But when your back is up against a wall, your ability to make choices has just limited itself. Do you see that around your friends in your circle, Bilna?
Definitely. I think this emotional and the fear element of money, it is also in not just the money, it's also about where you're spending it, right? So when you're going into a jewelry shop and spending 7,000 dirhams on buying a chain, right? You feel that, okay, the worst case is like the gold price is not going to go down, right? It's a commodity to invest into, so you're not so scared. But if you were to invest into a trading license for 7,000 dirhams, so I'm talking from the business perspective because I talk to a lot of women, right? So or maybe 10,000 dirhams, right? So they're thinking, oh my God, 10,000 dirhams. What if I can't make 10,000 dirhams from my business? This is something I hear a lot of them say, right? Oh, Bilna, it's too much to spend, so I'm not going to spend on license. I'll just sell in my small community and I'll not, this is what I hear from them. But that 10,000 or 12,000, if you divide it as 2,000 per month, right? And if you are not capable of making 2000 out of it, I know you're passionate, you have that skills in you, but it's about, so that is when you're making a decision from your brain is a different versus making it from your heart, right?
Right.
So when it comes to that goal, you're making it from your brain. But when it comes to that business, again, the heart is pushing your brain,
Yeah.
You know what?
Passion is in your heart.
What if you can't make that 2000? What if you can't make that 2000 to cover that 2000?
Absolutely. And I think what happens when a woman who is staying at home or who's a homemaker, she decides, ki, chalo, I want to start something, I want to start a business, and to become a homepreneur. Who are the first people you ask? You'll ask your husband, you'll ask your relatives, you'll ask your kids, and that is your inner circle. That's your primary circle. Except keep in mind, before you dismiss your idea completely or before you get like very negative feedback, that all of these people's lives are going to be turned completely upside down by your choice. So I think that is something that a lot of women don't recognize, right? Because they come up with this business idea, they share it with their inner circle, they get pushed back and they say, forget it. They put it in that day's dustbin and it's gone. Except you're not realizing that that choice that you're going to make is going to disrupt those people's lives. And maybe their response to your idea was actually coming from there and not from your actual idea. So step out, make your circle wider, speak to women, speak to others, preferably women who have nothing to do with your daily running of your home, and then see whether your idea is really that bad or not.
This
and then take it
response
from
might
there.
not be conscious, right? Like the people around you don't want you to fail,
Yeah.
but their life is going to get disrupted. Their system is rejecting the idea for that. And that in itself is just tricky, right?
It is.
Find somebody like Bilna and who can tell you what is the possibility of something, makes it easier for you to just look at it.
Yeah.
Try it on for science, right?
I want to talk a little bit about trauma, right? All of us have had incidents in our lives. And if we think back to our absolute rock bottom, and I can name a few, they all have a lot to do with money. It either came from, most of my life's trauma came from not having it, having given it away, being, feeling like I am in a position where this trauma was caused by money. And therefore, I've developed this really horrible relationship with money because I think money is the bad person. Money is the person who got me to where I was. Do you see that a lot where trauma plays out?
See, we are burdened with generational trauma as far as money is concerned, right?
Mm.
And we had no say in this. It's just passed down on a cellular level within women. It came from my grandmother to my mother. It came from my mother to me. And it will go on. We are the savers. We are traumatized by the fact that if in case something goes wrong, I have to save the world. I am going to be saving my family. My family depends on me. These things create a traumatic relationship overall. So I have known of people who have had too much money. Now, that is a whole other angle where you have too much money, where your aims and ambitions can be fueled easily. But the idea is you have enough or you have too much. That view, the healthy relationship with money is not established until you deal with these. Having too much is a problem. Having too little is a problem.
Basically, you're never winning.
You're not winning when it's coming to money unless you deal with it like you're dealing with another person. Like, how would you want this relationship to go ahead and feel? It's very, very important. But trauma is not just generational. Trauma is of your surroundings also. Something that you felt when you were growing up. I have known of somebody who's held on to one incident that happened that I had to pay for this and I did not have the money. And that man today hoards money. Hoards money because I will never want to be in that corner where I did not have like X amount of money to pay for the Y thing. Will never happen again. And now you're saving beyond a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just not. And then there is somebody I know who is in that position who spends too much. Who spends beyond your limit because when I was not spending enough, people looked at me a certain way, which might not have been the case, but is what you feel. That your security is there, that I felt small when I did not have the money. Now that I do, I will spend enough to feel larger. So I have heard, I'm sure you guys have also heard it. If you spend money to show how much you have, is the easiest way to not have money.
Yeah.
Right? But that facet will only come in eventually when you start running out of it. For now, you're showing off because some point of time in the past, it made you feel tiny, that you weren't spending enough.
Yep.
So trauma is making you either spend more or less, or it is making you feel guilty or shameful of having it or not having it.
That's so true. I know, for example, a friend who once had, parents getters at their door, and as a child had to say, sorry, mom's not at home or dad's not at home to pay this off. And now the entire life is about, I will never put myself in that position again.
Yeah, that is plenty.
right? And there are kids who grew up in very middle class homes and they didn't have as much as their friends, and now their whole lives are about, now I'm going to get the, the cars, the watches,
It's very common. I think.
Yeah, I think that is now also a thing that has come in, because all of us sort of turned that curve and came into the place that we can spend.
Yeah.
And we want to, because it's like revenge spending. Like,
Huh.
I didn't get to, so now I'll have.
Now I'll spend. And the other side to that is when you're growing up and you're always told that, please, money is such a base thing. Like,
Yeah.
money is so yuck. It's so cringe. Which is, even when you have it, you want to pretend that you don't have it, because you have so much guilt that how am I walking around with this kind of wealth, right? How did I luck out like this? Yeah, that I'm doing what I like also and I'm making money also.
I have to tell you, this is my personal grouse, that anytime somebody is successful, like Bilna or you, for example, the amount of people contributing to saying that this is all luck. Listen, person, that woman worked really hard. Really hard. I'm not saying that luck does not play a part in this. It does.
Yeah, right. But women are fundamentally taught to be humble, right?
Very.
So humility comes like pre-installed in our system. No, it wasn't me. It was just lucky.
I just got lucky. I was blessed.
I mean, you worked really hard and you did everything. You went against the stream. You did everything you needed to. And
Then you attribute everything.
but you
to
also
luck.
know, I was just lucky. Listen, I'm really lucky. Yes, you are. But you are also owning it.
And can I just add there that men in the same situation with the same numbers, the same business, the same bank balance will go around making TED Talks about how to make your business grow. Whereas women are like, no, we just lucked out.
See, yeah, I got
Lucked out. I got lucky to meet the right people, but you should
Yeah.
see that she went out for that networking event to meet that person, right?
Yeah, I think that is one thing that I will always say, that luck is great. And please take compliments. Please tell people the value and worth of what you're doing. Enjoy the money that you're earning, which is not happening.
And I want to go back to this thing that you mentioned, right? Like when a woman's doing really well and someone says, "Arey, matlab chap rahe ho yaar."
Yeah, Chapro is going to be my grouse forever. Like, isn't that the aim? Chapna is the aim, right?
To this day, I cannot take that compliment. I cannot say, "Haan, chap rahi hu main."
Yeah.
Because then you become the villain, right? Like, then you're suddenly the Joker from Batman who's saying, "Haan, chap rahe hain to," and then your image breaking, like, she's now that person who's earned a lot of money. No, I'm just trying to be healthy with the money that I have, right?
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. I struggle with that, saying that, okay, I have enough, or I have enough to buy this or do that. I think all of us do. Like, like when I tell you, like, look at her and say, "You're looking really nice," you're like, "Yeah, it's all bought on sale. Please, please don't say I spent a lot of money on myself." It's just that, right?
When it comes to your work, right? If you're doing very well, 90% of women don't ask for a pay rise, right? Men do it.
And we don't know how to.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to. But we're going to come back and there's something particular that I want to talk about. I really want to talk about brown women. Yeah.
Yes.
About immigrant women. So let's get there.
Yes.
Catch the rest of this conversation on our next episode next Monday.